Too many thoughts in my head. Who cares, man? Nobody. 나만 눈을 감고.
Welcome to the KYP podcast. My name is James, and I got my co-host.
Kevin.
Danny.
So it's kind of weird for me to do the intro because usually Danny does it, but I had to get something out of my chest today, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And I just want to see what you guys think about it and how you felt in some of the situations I want to talk about. So we want to talking about last episode, and for whoever that did not tune in, we talked basically about the struggles of starting a podcast and how we grew from being nothing and not knowing anything about podcasting to, slowly learning and improving every single time. We also talked about our styles in terms of our ways of talking and listening and active listening. And there was something that I wanted to talk about the last episode, sorry. And what bothers me is that everybody has something to say, right? Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a voice. But the fact that some people are able to voice their opinions louder than others or are more capable of talking better is definitely a disadvantage for those who have a marginalized voice, somebody that cannot speak out the way they feel, the way they think. And for me, the huge part of my personality is, as Daniel was saying last episode, I do listen a lot, more than I talk. And the reason for that is because I have a lot of empathy. So I have a good sense of what somebody's feeling. I'm able to put myself into your shoes and to really listen and to feel what you went through. So when Kevin came up to me and he was, saying all these things, his hardships during COVID, I really related to that in my own way. I didn't go through the same things as you. I didn't go to law school, and I didn't have my parents telling me to go to this route my whole life. But I do relate with it in a lot of ways. And when Danny's struggling, when he's going through something, I don't necessarily go through that in a exact path, but I do understand what you're saying, and I love listening to you guys and just going through what you're thinking. So that's the empathy part. And then, so the point of this whole podcast is to listen, right? But it's not only to listen, but it's also for others to speak out for when they cannot. So this is why I love this platform. This is why I love Kill Your Pride podcast, KYP podcast, because I feel like I don't voice my opinion enough. I feel like I have a lot of ideas that I want to shoot out there. I'm constantly thinking of new ideas, and I put it out there on Instagram. I put it out there through my clothing, the way I feel, the way I say things, but I never speak it out. So I wanted to give the opportunity to explain what Kill Your Pride is, because I feel like throughout all these episodes, I wasn't able to really voice out what it really means to me and what it might mean to you guys. And I think it's important for the listeners and the viewers to know exactly what this podcast is about. And so this is basically, these episodes it's a manifesto for us, the marginalized people that cannot speak out, people that have been silenced. This is a platform for us to learn about each other and to also express ourselves, our feelings, the way we think. And I think that's important. I think when we have guests over, I think it's important to have a conversation with them to see what they're thinking. And I think we could all learn from each other. That is killing your pride, is to listen, to let go of your ego and to listen to others. And I want to transition into this marginalized piece where I feel like I was silenced my whole life. So living in a Quebec society, living in this Quebec province, living in Montreal, we get all sorts of mixed vibes, mixed ideas of what it is to be Canadian, what it is to be Quebecer, what it is to be an immigrant that moved to Quebec, what it means to be born as a Canadian but doesn't really fit in, like me, like us. We were all born here, but we don't look white. We don't look Quebecer, you know? And so where do we fit in, right? And I wanted to give an example on when I was in elementary, grade 6, we had this play. Our whole grade had to take part in this show, this play, for Christmas. And actually, that's crazy because we're in the Christmas like vibe. Like our episode is in this Christmas era right now, and it just reminded me of the time I was in elementary, and we all had to be forced to take a role in this play. So I didn't have a say. I didn't have a choice on who I wanted to be. You were just that. The director, the teacher, director chose your role. And I think I was a role as a second. So basically the play was a Christmas play, and it was like I was a soldier. And there was a small part in that play where I had to say something, but the whole play I was just standing there, doing nothing, saying nothing. And it just shows that where your value is in this society. As I was the only Asian kid in my class, and everybody else had a big role, had lines to say, and I was just there standing, just a military soldier. I was just there as a prop, basically. And I didn't think of it too much back then but I knew as a kid, I felt like I had no part in this, basically. Like I was just a prop. I was just an object. And whoever decided that saw no value in me, clearly, right? Each kid had a part in this, but I feel like I had nothing. And as a kid, you don't really understand why that is, but you do feel a certain way. And I felt like I was silenced. And then it brings out a greater, it relates to a greater sense of identity in this Quebec society where Asians are meant to stay silent, stay put. I remember I was at the ski resort at school, and we were on a ski trip. And then after a day of skiing, we were at the chalet, and we were just eating. And then I went to take out my food, and 2 kids come up to me and start doing the squinty eyes thing. And then, like, they just come up to me randomly. I didn't even know them. Like, they're just part of another group. And I was just like, what the fuck, I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything, and I was a kid, right? So I felt horrible for somebody doing that. And as a kid, when it bothers you. Like, you don't know why they're doing it, but you do understand, like I said, you do feel certain things. And I didn't feel great. And as Asians, we're expected to do nothing when that happens. If I fucking said something to a white kid, their parents would get involved. They would tell their parents would get involved. They would do something about it. And then I would probably get expelled, right? But as an Asian kid, you're supposed to stay silent, behind the scenes, stay out of trouble, stay out of the spotlight. That's how we're perceived here in this society, in not only Quebec, but in North America, right? This wouldn't happen if you're in Asia, but specifically our experience as Canadians and Asians living in this province, we are expected to stay put, to not say anything, to stay out of trouble, just lay your head low, study, and get a good job. But the way I felt my entire life living here, I felt misunderstood. I felt marginalized. I felt like I was just a small part of this entire white galaxy where I had nothing, like nothing to say, nothing to put out. Even though I had ideas and things to say, it was always dismissed, right? And so when I was in the library in my university years creating this not this podcast but this brand called Kill Your Pride, I was angry. I was just looking back at the past, and I think I've already said this prior when we started Kill Your Pride podcast. I was talking about this anger that I was feeling while I was creating this podcast, this brand, because I felt in a certain type of emotion. I felt a certain type of frustration on how I felt being in this world, and I wanted to put it out there. So this is why I created that T-shirt, immigrant, on top of my chest. Kevin, I probably told you this. I wrote immigrant for the world to see and to call out everybody that sees me as one. So, I mean, I put immigrant on my chest to showcase that, like a shield, like the Superman, the S, like that's my shield, because I've accepted that I don't belong here. I've accepted that I'm not part of this society. I've accepted that it is a racist institution, this place, and putting immigrant on my chest was to showcase that I've got past it. I've grew from it. It's shaped me, and I'm proud to be an immigrant kid, right? My parents are immigrants. I'm a descendant of an immigrant, and I had to live through this entire, like, all these hurdles and frustrations from living here, the racism. I put that on my chest, with pride. And killing your pride is about not, let's say, if I took the route of killing my pride because I didn't want to stay frustrated. I didn't want to stay angry. If I put immigrant on my chest and in my head, and I'm like, yeah, this is me, this is who I am, fuck you, fuck that fucking white guy, I'm gonna beat him up for being racist. If I was like that, I'd be in fucking jail, because there's so much frustration that I have to internalize and process, and it becomes a fucking cheeseburger at McDonald's. It's like, it's not real, because I have to filter all this bullshit that I go through in this Quebec society and act like it's normal, right? This Big Mac, it's like a burger, but it's not really a burger. But because I've taken all these parts of me, I've created this fake self, and I did that through clothes, through fashion. It became part of me, so to help that insecurity of being myself in this world. And if I was like that, I'd be pretty superficial. This is why people are superficial, is because they're hiding something deep inside, right? And killing your pride is to be real, is to I'm thinking about the app, but it's to be real, is to be yourself. And Kill Your Pride podcast is a manifesto, is a platform for us to really speak to each other, to understand each other. If I didn't know Danny, and back in the day, we saw each other as frenemies or enemies, right? Like, we didn't know each other. We saw, this guy's another influencer, this guy looks like an asshole. But because we had a conversation, we talked with each other, we really became good friends. We hang out every single weekend. We share ideas, we work together. Like, that's the best thing that you can get out of a friendship. It's just you could work together and you could play together. That's the best feeling. And even for you, Kevin, we've always been friends, but we've also been frenemies at the same time. And because you came to me on that one cold night, in the car, and you just like let it out, we were both crying and shit. Like, that just brought us closer. And I want Kill Your Pride podcast to be just that. Like, I want us to cry. I want us to laugh. I want us to be angry. I want to know each other. I want to know the next guest. And like, fuck all the superficial shit. I want to know you. I want to know what goes in through your head. Like, it's great that this guy is a social media specialist. This guy is a DJ, producer, or whatever. I want to know you. You know, what has gone through your head to become this person today? What are the struggles that you went through? Because there's nothing more interesting than showing the background, the behind that wall. Let's be transparent in this podcast. And that is killing your pride, is to really sit down, listen, ask questions. Asking questions is the best thing to do, right? It's because you're trying to figure out that person, and understand them with empathy, with passion. And so, yeah, I mean, I wanted to bring this route into this, it all came from this racist society. And I'm glad that, we're us three together here. We all relate to each other in one way, or other ways. But we really relate on the base. And, but yeah, so, I mean, what do you guys think? Like, what this podcast has done for you, and how you guys feel?
There's something you said when you began this story, or explanation of Kill Your Pride, and you characterized the idea and also yourself as empathetic.
Yep.
And, there's a couple things you said there where, even when it relates to meeting Danny for the first time, meeting me for the first time, getting close for the first time, there was always this kind of subtext of frustration or, hostile feeling towards each other. Like he's a friend of me. Like he's someone who also has kind of the same energy, the ego, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to be the coolest. I want to be the best on the basketball court. I want to be, and I think amongst men, friendships amongst men, this is a common characteristic.
Yeah.
And when men bond, it's when they can kind of let that go and accept and learn from another person. And you also said that for, your first design, putting immigrant on your chest. I see that, let me know if you kind of process it differently, but I see that as you choosing peace over war with this racist, hostile society towards you. You could have just bottled it up and, let it out in frustration on someone being racist to you on the street or in the club. But you chose to, approach it differently. And your choice was peace and acceptance. You put it on there to almost, when you're walking around with immigrant on your chest, you're not doing any harm to anyone around you. But for people who get a reaction out of it, that symbol is kind of offering to open the conversation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it might be a difficult conversation, but you're willing to have that because you accept yourself and, how the society views you, and, you don't accept the outcome. You accept the reality, and you found a peaceful way of kind of improving that situation. And I think talking about at the beginning, you started with, it's about giving the chance for people who may have more of a marginalized voice a chance to speak their piece, right? And That's all we're really looking for. We're not looking for, anything other than that. At least for me, I'm not looking for anything other than that from this society, because
you can't change the world.
Yeah, you can't change this world. We immigrated here, they've had their culture for many years. I can understand from their perspective, it's hard to adjust. It's hard to see, their downtown centers being, all the real estate being bought up by Asian faces, and, the good schools, all the spots are getting taken by. There's definitely going to be frustration. You can't just expect another culture to transition so easily to something like that. But what I would have settled for as a young person coming up is if they just gave my voice equal value, and we didn't have that. We didn't have Simu Liu. We didn't have Asian YouTubers. We didn't have examples of Asian people who could be in the UFC, who could sing R&B songs, who can be anything other than an accountant or, a lawyer. So a lot of that experience you had with this kind of this society where we're a bit of outsiders, I felt in my experience as well. I went to a, all white private school.
Yep.
And I always felt like an outsider at school. I felt like an outsider at home when we go to China. I just didn't fit in either way. Like at school with the with the Canadians, they got along with me. I'm funny. But so I had to break different expectations, but no matter what I did, I was always tokenized.
Yeah.
So at first, when I didn't have any friends, I just got to the school, they didn't even look at me. They immediately, I knew if I didn't do something, I'd be relegated to like eating with the teachers, cafeteria, not having any friends because they see me as a nerdy Asian, loser, right? Because it was so normal to be like,
well, that's what the movies were showing.
Yeah, Chinese loser. Every time you see a Chinese person, they're a loser on screen. They don't get the girls, they don't get the guns, they don't get to shoot the guns. They're doing calculations for James Bond to go on his mission, right? So that's how they all saw me. And then I started to break that mold, right? I'm like, I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm a vibrant, outgoing personality. I'm funny. That was my way in. And I found success in that. I started to be able to sit at the cool kids table. I got invited to stuff. But so long as I fit that new kind of stereotype for me, the funny Asian kid, right?
Another stereotype.
And then it became the funny Asian kid who's whitewashed. So there was a point where I got respect. I got social.
Now to other Asians, you're whitewashed.
Exactly. I got social validation from the white kids for saying like, oh, I'm a banana. I'm whitewashed. I don't hang out with, and I really didn't. Yeah. But that was because I was wrapped up in that environment. I was really seeking acceptance, and now, so that's how I approached that problem of feeling like you're rejected by the society or you're rejected by the culture you're in. I responded by trying to seek validation and acceptance. Now, this is still a problem I very much think about all the time. And, I think what we're doing here with the podcast is a manifestation of my lifelong kind of struggle with this concept. And now I've approached it differently. I'm not seeking acceptance like that anymore. I'm accepting myself.
100%.
Now that I accept myself, it's kind of, I can accept the society for how they treated me in a way, right? Like I understand where that comes from. Yeah. Before I didn't understand. When I was a kid, it's like, I'm just here. I didn't do anything. Why can't I be treated the same as all you guys? But now with life experience, with understanding history, with understanding human nature, I can accept how, other people may have misconceptions of people who are different from them. Other people might haven't dealt with certain anxieties and traumas in their own life, so they're projecting that negative feelings towards other people. So once I accepted other people, I realized I have this power to, kind of smooth any initial misunderstandings over or misimpressions over. I can't tell you how many times I met people who like tell me after we've known each other for a few months, I never thought we would get along. I saw you before, I heard about you before. I heard this about you, I heard that about you. I really thought you were a bad person. But now we're great friends. We can, have drinks together. We're messaging each other and everything. And that came from me. I didn't ask the society to do anything. I didn't change the world. I didn't protest. I didn't attend one, activist event. all I did was change how I reacted to people. Because now when someone says something that offends me or that might not be true about me, my first reaction isn't, hey, fuck you, man. You don't know me, da 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 da. My first reaction is trying to understand how he got there. And how he got there was probably, oh, I dress this way. I associate with those people. Okay, I can see how you could get that idea. But let me explain to you, why I'm not that way. If you're happy to hear it. If you're not happy to hear it,
Fuck
maybe,
you.
Maybe we're not, the time isn't right for us to be connected. But that's it. Because I understand in every person's life, you go through changes. For so long in this kind of black and white society we live in, where it's like you're either on the left, you're either on the right, they kind of forget the idea that human beings are constantly changing. Your ideas, your values, what you believed in was important at 18 years old, I promise you is not the same things that you find important today. And I'm really happy you brought this topic forward, like really getting to the idea of kill your pride. But I think it's hard to concise into one idea. I think
it comes with so many different emotions and experiences. It's like it's hard to internalize everything and to bring into topics. So that's why it's an ongoing topic in this podcast. It's just we're talking through the different things that we went through, but it's all related into the KYP umbrella.
Yeah, I think part of our journey, like we have an idea, we've tried multiple times to kind of explain it, and we're getting there, right? But I think
this is really
it's an ongoing journey. Right?
It came up to yesterday after the podcast. Last episode.
It was technically yesterday, but
yeah, well, I was doing the logo. I was listening to another podcast, and I was just like, I needed to bring myself back to where this started, because when I created the logo, that's when the brand was being conceived.
Yeah.
And all these emotions came out again in the way I felt, these experiences, and I felt so hurt again. I felt so frustrated again. I felt like these emotions were coming back. And I think I need this to wheel me back into what it is, what KYP is, because I feel like down the road, in the future, we might forget ourselves. We might not know who we are anymore, because there's so many factors clouding our judgment, clouding our opinions of ourselves. So that's why I wanted to bring it back to, and for the viewers to know what this is really about.
Yeah. Do you think you're at a place now where you're able to articulate, what kill your pride means to you in like a 2-sentence format?
2-sentence format?
Or like just like a summary of it?
I feel like that was the whole summary.
I know, right? Because it's so tied to a lot of deep emotions. It comes in stories, right? And that's how I've always been able to explain it as well. I haven't been able to kind of boil it down to, this is the 2-sentence on what kill your pride is. I always have to go into a story. So I think, as we progress in this podcast and on this journey, I think we're on the way of refining that down to
I don't think I could give you that.
I don't think we're there yet.
Maybe Danny could. I don't know what you think.
I think at the end of the day, kill your pride is about rejecting societal and cultural norms and accepting yourself as a human being and improving yourself as much as you can.
Yeah, for me, it's always along the lines of, external influences versus internal influences, because your pride is tied to everything. Your pride is tied to is external, in terms of how much money you have, your status in society.
Pride is ego,
are you
right?
number one? Yeah.
Pride is ego, and pride is what protects you, or your ego is what protects you from all the hurdles, all the struggles that you go through.
Threats, right?
Especially as an immigrant kid, you go through all these challenges, and your ego, and my ego was fashion, clothes. It helped me get through my childhood. I know a lot of people that have not got past their past, their struggles, what they went through. They're not able to move on because they're not letting their ego help them carry themselves up that mountain.
Yeah. I also want to kind of expand this to just beyond, the immigrant struggle and maybe even beyond the minority struggle. Because I feel like, what we talk about, this ego, it affects every human being because it's there as, a survival drive. Part of the evolutionary reason behind this is it helps you respond to threats. It helps you, the other tribe is stronger, faster than you. So it gives you that push to get stronger and faster. It gives you that push to learn how to use this tool, and everybody feels that, right? From our perspective, the struggle materializes in the race and that type of struggle. But for other people, it could be rich and poor. It could be haves and have not. And I feel like this is something we all grapple with as human beings because modern society has made it not so simple. If you take it back, into historical times or ancient or like caveman times, the needs of a human being were very simple: shelter, food, fire, right? But now with modern day technology, we're so that was like creature living. We live as animal creatures, right? We just eat, sleep, reproduce, repeat. We don't think about much else because we don't have, the luxury to think about much else. When you get to
it's
bed,
all survival mode.
It's all survival mode. And now in modern day society where you can Uber Eats your dinner, where you don't have to leave the house to do your job, you can, you're interacting through social media. The creature part is kind of nullified. And now the concentration, all the struggle, it's not physical, it's not finding food, it's not finding shelter, it's all mental. It's grappling with how to be a human being, intelligent
we're
being.
trying to survive this society that they've created because this structure, these buildings, these laws, the schooling, the education we're going through, it's all man-made.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to maneuver through all of these external factors that's heading through us. It's not dinosaurs chasing us anymore.
Yeah.
It's fucking cops trying, like you're worried about the cops stopping you
the
for a
government,
ticket.
taxing you.
Taxes,
taking.
So that's the survival. And now, because we're on the social media platform, we need to survive socially now. High schools experience it the most. I feel bad for the kids, the younger generation, because they're pressured to be this social media person, to be somebody, to make quick money.
It's all like the programming, right?
Yeah, they're programming us, bro.
I like to call this the Matrix. This is what I refer to as the Matrix.
It's getting more real.
The civilized systems, like civilized society that are at this advanced level where we're talking mega cities, it doesn't matter. And this applies for countries all over the world, not just the West. What I'm saying, the Matrix is all over the world. There's just the American Matrix, there's the Chinese Matrix, there's the Indian Matrix, and then there's the whole human global Matrix. And the reason for that, at least in my opinion, and based on what I've experienced, what I've read, it seems to me that the only way for societies to create this type of advanced civilization is to have a very, very rigorous system in place. And, the origins of the system is very simple. Like, it's just a system of organization, hierarchy, right? There's a leader of the tribe, there's the chieftain, he advises there, and then there's the workforce or the grunt, the workforce, the soldiers.
So what you're saying is it's part of political philosophy, and bringing it back to what you were saying by the survival mode, the ancient times, humans had to get out of that system because it was not sustainable, because we were all killing each other.
Yeah.
So, people like John Locke, the political philosophers, were saying we need to create a system where we don't end up killing each other, that there's a social contract between me
Right.
and you. If you were my competitor,
Yeah.
I would have to kill you in order for me to survive,
Yeah.
to win, to be alive, to have a family. But now we have a social contract saying, okay, let's not kill each other. Let's be friends. Let's do a transaction instead. And that is the Matrix. That is programming us.
That was the
survive.
birth of the Matrix.
There you go. Yeah.
The birth of the Matrix. And I think at that beginning stage where it was just a social contract on, you know, we don't have to go to that extreme. We can figure out our grievances without, you know, going towards violence or killing each other. So I think that's where it started. But then as it grew, you know, it became a game of amassing the scarce resources and power, because people realized if they had control over a system, no matter how small or big, you know, a system could be as small as a team, a squad, a tribe, all the way up to, you know, Google as a corporation or America as a country. Those are all systems.
Pyramids.
The few people that, you know, there always has to be someone on top.
Yeah.
The natural structure of things, natural law, like this hierarchical system exists in nature. It's not just we humans made it up.
No, the
right?
animal kingdom, there's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right? Whoever's the biggest, the strongest.
Right. And so I think at some point, probably pretty early on, because I don't think it takes long for human nature and instinct and greed and, you know, lust for power to get introduced. So probably early on, it got corrupted a little bit, and the people who were running, who had the authority to run the little systems and grow them to what they are today, realized that they could, you know, do a lot for their own interests. If you control the system, you can amass all the wives. You can amass all the wives. You can amass all the resources.
The food,
you can amass. You
land.
can be living great. And what they realize is, in order to sustain that, you always need a workforce.
Yeah, you need to control the people.
Yeah, because what you're really doing, think about it, if one squirrel in the forest got the power to think, human type consciousness, immediately he would be like, okay, other squirrels, I have a plan. You know, why don't we just gather all the acorns, amass them together, and then spread it out to all our squirrel families, and we're gonna live in a paradise.
That'd be great.
Yeah, he's the first squirrel to come up with the idea. So most squirrels would be like, "Oh, this is a great idea. Of course, you should get more share of the acorns."
Yeah,
that's how it all starts, right? And then the people on top, they realize they could get more and more acorns. Other squirrels who eventually will take that top acorn squirrel place saw how the previous top squirrel lived, right? Like, oh, he could amass
top G,
right? And then that system, the idea of the system, is perpetuated organically to everyone.
Yeah.
So I think
it controls the people, gives them purpose, other than just killing themselves, killing each other.
So when that system grows to what it is at today, it permeates,
completely fucked up.
Permeates every aspect of life, from food. It's all system. Food is controlled by the Matrix. Everything's processed.
Now it's money. Money is the currency, right?
Yeah.
And money controls us. It programs us. Because as you know, money doesn't mean shit. It's a piece of paper. You burn it, it's plastic, it's paper, right? But because we give it value, it controls us. It gives us a purpose. It's the reason why we're not killing each other.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to make money now.
We're trying to make money now, right?
We need to cooperate.
So
That's
money,
the whole premise.
Money is like the oil, the fuel of the system today.
Fire, yeah.
And how it manifests, like from a young age, the programming starts. It can start in school. It can start on television. In university, you can see the system, trying to influence you in all sort of ways. In university, I never went to a recruitment event and heard anything about a sales job. Nobody was out there promoting. No career fair was promoting account management or whatever.
Some shit, yeah.
Everybody was promoting accountant, junior level analyst, junior level engineer.
Marketing.
These are all if we compare it to the olden days, these are all the labor jobs. It's just the labor jobs are so fancy now that you're doing coding instead of like hitting rocks.
Oh
but
shit, yeah, you're right.
it's still the same. Those are the things that are promoted the most in the universities.
Yeah.
They don't tell you what a sales job can do for you, because a sales job forces you to think,
to negotiate
independently in this matrix system. It affords you the possibility of creating your own little system within the system. They don't teach. Don't want to teach you that. They just want to teach you how to operate a cog in their existing system. They don't want to teach you the real foundations of creating your own system.
Yeah, so true.
And that's. Bring it back to Kill Your Pride. I'm going to give a go at it. So I think because we, from a young age, we're just constantly getting programmed by the system we're born in. Yeah. We're born in Quebec, so we have this struggle we face as Asian Canadians here. Yeah. If you're born in China, you have other problems. You're born in Korea, you have other problems. Just because there's no racism in a country does not mean you don't have.
There's no problems.
Have problems, right?
Racism is one part of
one version of it, right? There's many versions. There's all colors of the rainbow for you, right? And I think all of it comes from, that programming represents external influence. So, at a young age, I wanted to be this because other people who done that are praised by society. Other people who have done that are rewarded financial and material success. I wanted to I led my life based on all of I wanted to be like James Bond because he gets girls and drives nice cars and whatever. I have no idea what it means to be James Bond. You know what I mean? Like, as kids, we all look at, the girls are looking at Disney princess. I want to be beautiful and wear live dresses. And I feel like your brain is programmed like that up to a certain age, right? For, I would say, the first 26 years of my life, I was living life making choices based on external influence, not even realizing I'm being externally influenced. And for me, Kill Your Pride was finally, killing the pride that comes with pursuing all these, what I say, surface level matrix false purposes. And killing your pride is accepting yourself. And, it's not about rejecting society. It's about making choices in society that are truly what you want. If you're doing something and in the back of your mind is like, oh, I can't wait to share with my friends and see what they think. Oh, I can't wait to show this test result to my parents so I get reward. You should be, anything you're doing in life should just be like, wow, I want to do that. And that was a great experience doing that.
Word.
I think that's as close I can get to explaining Kill Your Pride for myself.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's having your own opinion. What do you think, Danny? What does it mean for you? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
that's a lot. Yeah,
we need to talk on this podcast, okay?
I mean, like, you guys been going at it for like almost 45 minutes. Now. I was just listening. No, it's really interesting. I think at the end of the day, what Kill Your Pride is just trying to create, like, as much as I am a firm believer of fate, I know that everything happens in a universe for some reason, and that
no coincidences.
Bad events are, in a way, a fucked up way of character development. It's kind of true if you think about it.
Yeah,
like,
you do learn from them.
I don't think people change unless they suffer trauma. And as bad as it sounds, all of us has gone through enough trauma in their life to improve ourselves as people. And it's kind of sad if you take, let's say, famous philosopher Seligman, about his theory about learned helplessness. It's basically where people are engraved in their mind as little kids or adults that no matter what you do in life, you have to subside to society. You have, no matter what you do, you can't do anything up to change your past. And that's why people stay in that bubble, stay in that, what we call that matrix that Kevin called, that cog. They work the wheel because no matter what they do, they can't improve themselves.
Yeah.
And 100%. I think that Kill Your Pride at the end of the day is trying to break through that mold and just become the best person you are, right? My childhood, if we go through really quickly my childhood, I've had my ass kicked my entire life. I've had my ass handed to me my entire life. And I wasn't the biggest kid. I was pretty small. And I did karate. I did all of these things, all physical sports. My dad always told me that if you're not first place, then you're a loser. So I had to prove myself to every single person around me that I was the best of the best. And I think still to this day, you know, learning all these new things that I have, working my own jobs, being my own boss, and doing all these things is just to prove and become the best person I can be. Maybe in the past it was to seek validation from others, but now it is more focused on being the best person I can be and just being the best person. So, you know, I guess going through my childhood, high school, I think I learned very early on in life the concept of if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
And so
You had no choice.
I had no choice. That's how I had to survive in school. You know, I could hang out with the nerdy kids, which I did, but I ended up joining the football team, American football. I got my ass handed to me, but I proved myself to be the best person. And it's funny to say that, you know, I was a 115-pound kid, 110 pounds wet, 5'6", and I was playing as a linebacker. I suffered 2 concussions, a dislocated jaw, dislocated shoulder, but putting my body on the line and proving myself that even if I was a small kid, all the big guys looked at me and said, holy fuck, this guy is willing to sacrifice himself for the team. I was the first one to ran into a running back head first. And so people saw that and said, if this kid is willing to do that, then I will do too. And it's just showing people that you want to take initiative, you want to be the leader, you want to prove yourself better than everyone. And that's how I got approval from all the white kids, all the other kids around me. And they gave me a nickname like Bing Bang Dao because I would destroy myself every practice. And I was also fucking blind. So I couldn't see anything. So the coach literally just said, hey, Danny, you see that guy who's not wearing red? Yes, coach. I want you to destroy him. I was like, yes, coach. So, and I think that basically transitioned to me understanding how to maneuver my way into society and picking out the best outcome, putting myself in the best outcome. And I don't know if it's considered a bad line of thought. I'm considered a major pessimist. I believe that men are inherently evil. And no matter what you do in life, there's always someone who will be seeking to have a leverage over you.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said that. I think it was... I can't remember the philosopher who said that. There's a bunch of people like Nietzsche, all these people that are very pessimistic.
Yeah. And Nietzsche was one.
Well, Nietzsche didn't want to be considered a pessimistic one.
Like he was like pretty out of the box saying that the society was, I forget, but he was pessimistic. But no, he was a realist.
He was a realist.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I don't know if he was but I guess if you're a realist, you are pessimistic.
Exactly. But bleak. He basically had his views very inspired by Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer basically was one of the most notorious pessimistic philosophers.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I just feel that in my mind, society is inherently evil. Men are inherently evil.
Like greedy?
Greedy.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, right? As much as we want to help someone, let's say, hypothetically, that everyone lives in a nice society. Peace, no wars, everyone's somewhat equal in a way. Socio-economically, and we're all living at peace. There's always inherently one person who would want to get advantage and get above someone. That's why we have governments. Because there's someone who needs to lead the pack. If everyone leads the pack, nobody leads the pack.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, the way I look at, killing your pride is, instead of, trying to one up one another, is just being, I guess I'll reiterate, is just, instead of putting someone down, to raise yourself up. It's instead to raise yourself up without impeding on other people, just improving yourself and not, your views, not insulting people, not fucking over people over money and things like that. And I guess that's pretty much sums it up. I think we all went through different paths of our lives, and we learn through hard times how to be the best version that we can be today.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, that's basically how I feel about it. And now that we've learned all these things, as we go on in life, we can inspire other people to learn what we've learned. Because yes, people need to go through trauma to learn. We can't simply just sit here, talk about, you have to kill your pride, you have to do that. People still have to go through the trials and tribulations of character development and become the best version of themselves.
Yeah, I feel like the listeners will have gone through this type of trauma or in some way, because you need to find somebody that you can relate to. Like, life is not a comedy, right? Like, yeah, we watch comedies to feel good, but I think it's important at Kill Your Pride is to talk about real things, about what we went through, because I'm sure the younger generation, and I wanted to speak about this before, we want to help others as if we were that kid. If I was in high school right now, if I was in elementary school, I'd be so confused. And this is why there's so many shootings. This is why there's so many mental issues going on. There's so many suicides happening, because they don't know their place in this world. They don't have that ego to carry them and push through all of that bullshit that's out there. And while I was mentioning social media in the Matrix, right? Social media is enhancing and at a rapid rate, social mental issues. If I look at somebody that's successful on social media, if I look at somebody that's making it, or that's the 1%, whatever, that would make me feel like shit. It's like, oh shit, I have to make money. I have to have 3 sources of income plus a 9 to 5. I have to do all these things. And what if I was that kid and I can't do that? What if I was a university student and I still can't reach that? What if I was working my 9 to 5 jobs, but I can't get 3 sources of income? I'm struggling to pay my rent and pay my groceries. Like, watching all that social media content fucks with my head.
Yeah.
Right. And as a kid, you're not equipped to have all those triggers and to sort of, like I said, digest it and turn it into something else, into something positive. Right. Or being passive. Right. Obviously people are angry. This is why and COVID enhanced all of this, because you're staying at home, you're watching social media, you're watching TikTok. This is why TikTok is so big, because you're watching video form of other people that are doing great, that are so happy on this in this world. And it fucks with the kids. It fucks with everybody, even adults. And so having a podcast form, Kill Your Pride, talking about these struggles, it's important for the listeners to know that it's okay. It's really okay. We're all going through it. We all went through it, and we're trying to give you more comfort. We're trying to educate. We're trying to not only give advice, but to really make you feel like we're part of this as a group.
Yeah, I think that's really where it comes from, right? Like we've overcome a lot of things, and through that experience, we've gained a lot of mental clarity and perspective, and we're kind of I think the drive to do this podcast comes a little bit from a place of, if we could have had a resource, or if we could have had someone to kind of talk us through this, these ideas, it would have been very helpful when we were going through it.
All we saw was comedians being successful on YouTube.
Nobody talks
as an Asian. But nobody talks about this shit.
Nobody's taught. No, even to this day, where social media is so massively available, anybody can express themselves, right? We all end up expressing nonsense. Like,
yeah, it's like, oh, how much money do you make? What's your job?
Yeah, what's your lamb? What color is your Bugatti? You know, how big are your tits? How can you do a TikTok dance? Everybody has the opportunity to communicate honestly and genuinely. Nobody chooses to do so. You know, we can't blame like, oh, you know, in the 90s, you could blame like, oh, it's Hollywood who won't give voices to people. Now you have the voices and you're fucking it up. You know, nobody's talking candidly. And it's not like...
Good. It's good. It's a start.
It's a start, right? Like now they're people like us, we have ideas, right?
Because those people, they're considered as crazy because the person that tells the truth amongst all the lies is crazy.
Yeah.
Right,
but they're opening
the doors. An Asian actor that's in an action movie, that's crazy. But once you saw Simu you get used Marvel, to seeing. You're like, okay, you know, we thought he was crazy on Twitter saying that shit, but he actually did it, and he
might be crazy, but the other people who he inspires to do it might do something that's more resonating with you, right? And at the end of the day, it's not like we have a special secret answer to life. I think above all else, what I'm trying to share with the world is a tool. And that tool is just communication. You know, we didn't solve anything today, but
this is a manifestation for us to grow and to talk to each other.
I think what we can show people is how we communicate. Yeah. We can communicate with vulnerability, but without compromising our confidence in ourselves as men. And I feel like
it's building the confidence at this
point. Men struggle with this so much. They feel like if they show an inch of vulnerability, you know, their manhood is
well, they have somebody else has leverage over them.
Exactly. Right. But if you accept yourself for all your flaws and strengths, you know, you can then have ownership of that vulnerability. So when you let it out, it's not on anybody else's terms but your term, because you're controlling what you show. Whereas
controlling the narrative.
You know, the vulnerability that comes out of you, that is coaxed out of you from external forces, you don't control that. Like, have you ever felt like, that guy made me feel shitty, he ruined my day? How could he ruin your day? He's not with you 24/7. You saw him for 30 seconds. What's ruining your day is your own mind. You know, your inability to swallow that pride, that whatever, you know, he disrespected me, he bumped me in the club. Your inability to do that, to manage your own pride and ego, is causing you that mental suffering, not anybody else.
Yeah.
And we say kill your pride. You can never get rid of your pride. And pride is useful. Pride is
important. It's important.
Yeah, pride is what drives you to achieve, to be ambitious. Yeah. What we're actually saying is manage it.
Yeah.
Be conscious of it. Look at it in the face. Don't be
mindful.
Don't hide it, right?
So yeah, so that's another episode with Kill Your Pride. I'm glad you guys came through. I'm glad we had this conversation, and for all the listeners. So my name is James.
Kevin,
Danny, and I will wrap it up. I think the most important thing to remember from today's podcast, as Kevin mentioned earlier, is I think can be summed up in one sentence, which is basically you are the maker of your own demise. If you let external factors, cultural, economics, affect you as a person, you will never grow as a person. You will always impede your growth. I think at the end of the day, it's to understand that it's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay to be not okay. And you just have to understand where everything, all your trauma, all your problem stems from, and that there is no shame in talking to your friends. There's no shame in seeking help, a therapist, a professional. Talk about your issues, learn, grow. And I think at the end of the day, just be the best person you can be. And so, my name's Danny.
Oh, sorry. I did it too quick earlier. My name is James.
Kevin.
And remember to kill your pride.
Kill your pride.
This is why Danny does it.